Welcome to the Kerri Lane Show. I'm Kerri Lane. Today, the battle over illegal deportations explodes on Fox, and Jesse Watters throws the first punch, leaving Democrats stunned. Then Representative Byron Donalds goes head-to-head with a protester in a fiery showdown. Wait until you see the moment that left the crowd cheering. Plus, Harvard University rolls the dice in a $1 billion standoff with the White House. Who will prevail? I will break it all down. And the media's latest meltdown, a wild new hope suggesting you could be next. Like, share, and subscribe as always. All right, let's start today's show off with an epic takedown of Democrat talking points over the El Salvador man that the left is pining over. Jesse Watters, he wins this battle by far, in my opinion. But first, here's Democrat Jessica Tarlov's defense.
The second Supreme Court ruling that happened under the cover of darkness, which was to stop this flight full of Venezuelans, we know there were innocent people on that flight. There was someone on it who had been picked up as quote unquote Tren de Aragua because there was a picture on Facebook of him with a multicolored pistol that they were saying was actually a gun, but it was a toy.
When your entire case hinges on whether a guy with potential gang ties was holding a toy gun or not, you've already lost. And then came her claim that the current administration never admits fault. That nearly launched me off the couch, as well as Jesse Watters. Watch this.
Well, Jessica keeps on saying there's all these mistakes. First, she said this guy was picked up because he had a Bulls hat. And then he has tattoos on his hand that spell MS-13.
That's not true.
Yes, it is. Read the symbolism, Jessica. What are you, a gang detective? Cut it out. And then he's wearing paraphernalia that says the slogan for MS-13. And then he gets caught up in a gang sweep with ranking members of MS-13 as part of a murder investigation. And then gets pulled over and he's suspected of human trafficking. Then gets accused of slugging his wife twice, and she has it on video. And suddenly his name isn't Maryland Dad, it's due process. You transitioned pretty quickly, Jessica. And to say this administration never admits a mistake, you guys never admitted you opened the border for 4 years.
Yes, we did.
Come on. You're saying this guy
that border was
you're saying this guy's afraid to go home? Because that's funny. In 2019, when he was popped, he said he wasn't afraid to go home, Jessica. Yeah. Funny that you're into due process now, after bringing us the Me Too movement, cancel culture, and the Trump trials. You can't break into the country and ignore the process of coming here and then want a process to leave. You cannot cut the line to come here and then ask to be put in a line to go home.
Jesse hit every point. The same crowd that ignored every rule when crossing the border now demands you enforce the rules before you send them back. See, we average 350,000 illegal entries a year. At that rate, due process for the people who crossed illegally under Joe Biden would take 28 years. That's the solution to this? Seems like that lacks common sense. And speaking of that, here's the media's latest scare tactic.
They could do it to them. If they could snatch students off the street without any pushback or recourse, they will do it to any of us. To be very clear, it's going to be the people of color and vulnerable communities that are next in line.
Yes, the "they're coming for you next" narrative. It's the media's favorite boogeyman.
Is this the slipperiest slope you've ever seen? If they deport an MS-13 terrorist, you're next. Who? The Puerto Ricans? Anybody with a tan, Jessica? Are you next? No one believes that. This is the dictator hoax all over again, and you lost on that the last time.
Meantime, 4 House Democrats decided to take a trip to El Salvador in an effort to dine with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. But we're told by Representative James Comer, not so fast. He rejected their request of a getaway at your expense. Now, because he denied them, it meant their visit to El Salvador was not considered official business, which led to this.
Is there any chance you'll be meeting with Abrego Garcia while you're there?
We got word at the embassy that our request has been denied by the government here locally. They say it's because we're not here on an official capacity, but we're not giving up. We're going to continue. We're building off of the trip of Senator Van Hollen, and we're not the first members here, and we're not going to be the last.
Representative Jim Jordan, he took to X and he wrote this, quote, "Democrats are fighting harder to return a gang member to the country than protecting the country from gang members." It's also worth noting that the 4 Democrats who just went to El Salvador, they voted against the Laken Riley Act. Now, the media is clearly looking to shift the narrative away from Dems dining with MS-13 members by breathing new life into SignalGate.
Are you bringing up Signal again? I thought they gave that up 2 weeks ago. Just the same old stuff from the media. That's an old one. Try finding something new.
So there are new claims that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared information on attacks in Yemen with his wife, brother, and personal lawyer. And you're never going to guess who their sources are. They're anonymous. Shocking, right? Pete Hegseth allegedly had a Signal chat with his wife, and it's the end of the world. But Jill Biden can prep for the G7 summit and chair meetings like she's commander-in-chief.
I'd like to turn it over to Jill and for any comments she has, and it's all yours, kid.
Thank you. You know, sometimes the White House surprises you.
The media was silent for 4 years while we were all asking who is running the country. They didn't seem to want to ask that. But now all of a sudden they have this renewed sense of curiosity. Funny how that works. Now, in this SignalGate sequel, many news outlets are claiming that the White House is looking to replace Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. But that's about as true as Hunter Biden's laptop being Russia disinformation, Joe Biden being sharp as a tack, and Trump colluding with Russia.
Here we go again. Just a waste of time. He is doing a great job.
Why do you still have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Thanks, Ask the Houthis how he's doing.
There's a hearing today on the Alien Enemies Act in the D.C. District Court. Your thoughts on that, Mr. President?
Well, we were elected to clean up the mess of this country. And we had millions and millions of people come in who are criminals, who are murderers, who are everything you can imagine, drug lords, drug dealers. They came in from prisons and from mental institutions. And I was elected to move them out, among many other things. And that's what we're doing.
Mr. President,
ask the Houthis how much this function is. There's none. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think we've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. You know, he was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. So you don't always have friends when you do that.
Trump would certainly know a little something about that. Now, Hegseth, he did not hold back. When reporters confronted him at Monday's White House Easter celebration, here he is putting the media on blast.
What a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. Won't give back their Pulitzers. They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
So while the media is freaking out over a Signal chat, the real story is this. Pete Hegseth is doing the job, and he's doing it well. Take a look at this.
Take a look at these numbers with the Army, Air Force, and Marines. You are up 108% in November, 119% in February, 108% after the election, 105% with the Navy. With the Marines, up 112% and 100%. They are through the roof. The U.S. Air Force, 100% of its goal. Same thing in February. And Space Force is also booming, over 100%. I think the warfighters are happy to have a warfighter up top.
These recruiting numbers don't surprise me. They don't surprise me one bit. They're a reflection of a yearning from the American public, of young people, to be proud of their country, to be proud of their military, to make sure when they serve, they're given everything they need.
Now to Florida Representative Byron Donalds. He is caught on camera in a heated exchange with a protester over Gaza. Watch how the left reacts when confronted with facts instead of feelings.
The Palestinians have voted for Hamas, and they have not done anything to remove Hamas. So if you want to have a shouting match of me, let's have a shouting match on the facts. The truth is that Hamas held elections one time, and they never held elections again because they would prefer to keep the Palestinian people under their boot. But when you're going to stand and yell and disrespect everybody in this room because you think you're being heard, and let's be clear, you're not. Let's be very clear, you're not. What you're doing is yelling now, and you're being disrespectful. You, ma'am, you are being disrespectful. And I will respect you, and I will honor the fact that You are here trying to get answers, but if you're going to hold this thing up and be disrespectful, then that's time for you to be removed. Because you are disrespecting everybody else in this room.
No debate, no discourse, just shouting and chaos. That is how the left responds to opposing views. All right, finally, let's move to this. Harvard versus the Trump administration. After getting $2.2 billion in federal funding frozen, Harvard is suing the White House, claiming that it's an attack on academic freedom.
Essentially, they're saying that they have an independent voice and that you can't use government money and tie strings to things in a way that manipulates their independence, their ability to have academic freedom. Well, there are so many other things that have come into this, as Eric was reported, lawsuits from Jewish students who felt that they were in danger, that the university didn't do enough to protect them. There are all kinds of other things that enter this stew. And remember, Harvard's had a rough time in the courts the last couple of years. It's less than 2 years ago that the Supreme Court said your admissions program that relies in some way or shape or form on race, they struck that down. I mean, Harvard has had a really tough time having to litigate really big issues. And, you know, as Eric points out, when people look at a $53 billion endowment, they wonder why a university needs so much support and federal money in the first place when everyday taxpayers are footing the bill.
So will Harvard win? Well, according to Linda McMahon, the Secretary of Education, she said this morning, no, they won't. Someone who agrees with her is constitutional law expert Alan Dershowitz.
Harvard's going to lose. It has no obligation legally, the government, to fund a $53 billion university. I don't understand the basis of the lawsuit. They're claiming First Amendment, but you know, Harvard has the First Amendment right to speak and to teach and academic freedom, but it doesn't have the right to get funding. I think the lawsuit is designed to send a message to the administration, come sit down and negotiate. There are two lawyers who they hired initially are negotiators. They're close to the Trump family and Trump business. And I think this is simply a ploy to try to get a resolution. About a third of the things that the government asked for from Harvard are right. They should do it. A third of them may be wrong, and about a third of them are subject to negotiation. So this case will settle. But if it goes to the Supreme Court, it's going to lose it.
That seems to be the story for most of Trump's legal battles, right? He's dealt a loss by the lower courts, and then the Supreme Court usually gives him a win. So we'll see how this one plays out. In the meantime, check out this next video on your screen. It has the latest update in the Judge James Boasberg case regarding those deportation flights, where he now says he's going to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court. I've got the latest on that, plus more on the crimes Kilmar Abrego Garcia is expected of that the legacy media isn't talking about. Click on it now and have a great rest of your day.